It's safe to say. Let's go to a little bit more fun game with two of the better offenses in the NFL so far. Houston traveling to Minnesota. We have the quarterback situations. Sam Darnold's doing, enough to keep you relevant in Superflex leagues, and you could stream him in matchups. Houston's been decent against quarterback play this week. And then we have CJ Stroud, the eternal just passing king, who is a guy you want everywhere. Where do you have these guys ranked? And are you playing Darnold this week, or are you more considering him as like a bench option?
Yeah. Let me start with CJ Stroud because I have him lower than usual. That Minnesota defense has been pretty good through 2 weeks. I have him down at 7, and we just know that the rushing upside isn't there for him. So guys like Lamar and Murray and Hurts are above him for me this week. But yeah, he's going to ball out like he balls out every week. So CJ Stroud is going to be an awesome quarterback. This team should win by 2 touchdowns. We'll see how it goes on the ground with Mixon a little banged up. But yeah, Stroud for me is locked in. The real question I have and that you have here is Sam Darnold. Right now he's my QB 17. I want to move him up. I am resisting the urge. I am right now I have Jaden Daniels as my QB 15. And that is a conversation I'm having with myself in a league. Do I start Sam Darnold over Jaden Daniels? And I am right now, Darnold is in the lead and in my lineup locked in. It's tough. Jaden Daniels, we know he's got the rushing floor, but against the Cincinnati secondary, I don't know. I think I'm going to go Darnold.
Right. I mean, he has Justin Jefferson. He's Justin Jefferson. It's good. Like they do have Derek Stingley, which is one of the better corners. And if you watched him against DJ Moore last week, he absolutely erased DJ Moore. Like DJ Moore did not stand a chance, which shows you how good Stingley is. But this is a whole nother level of wide receiver we're talking about. I don't know if he's going to shadow. Like I'm assuming he would because you kind of need to with Justin Jefferson. But interesting enough, Leslie Frazier's defense does a lot of gimmicky stuff, which catches quarterbacks by surprise. But it's CJ Stroud. He's one of the smart quarterbacks league. I don't know how well it's going to work. So yeah, like I think you could play Darnold. It's a top 8 matchup. Like, fire him up, see how it goes. Yeah. I don't know if I'm playing over Daniels. I think that's a little bit spicy just based on the rushing, that he has, but I get it. Like it's the KOC offense, man. It prints money. It is what it is.
100%.
Let's talk about these running backs a little bit. How are you viewing the running back situation with Mixon kind of dealing with an injury? And on the flip side for the Vikings, with Jones also dealing with an injury, are you elevating either one of the backups, like Chandler, or are we doing anything with Akers in those games? Are you kind of waiting and seeing TBD how it plays out the rest of the week?
Yeah, I guess I'm a little bit biased here because Ty Chandler was one of my late round grabs and stashes everywhere. So I haven't necessarily felt comfortable with Aaron Jones, except when I saw him in weeks 1 and 2, he looked awesome. So, if he's out with injury, I think Ty Chandler running for 82 yards last week out of nowhere in like a quarter and a half is, I will plug Ty Chandler in pretty easily. But I do have Aaron Jones below Mixon if he plays, right? But the problem is Mixon is unlikely to play. It seems like the team, the words that I'm seeing in the report are the team is holding out hope that Mixon can play in week 3, which doesn't sound good. So if it's Cam Akers or Damon Pierce or whoever they're going to roll out there, I think it's just going to be more passing volume. So I will pass on those guys. So right now it's Mixon Jones. It would be Jones above whoever a backup is. It would be Ty Chandler over whoever a backup is in Houston.
Yeah, I think for kind of that offense, you see how just good it is at supporting running backs. I don't mind firing up whoever the back, because there's also other guys who are also dealing with injury. It's really kind of similar. Not Akers isn't going to see all the workload Mixon will, but I think he could be a flex, wide or RB2 with flex range. I think there's upside for that offense. Yeah, and it's you just have to watch Jones and watch it and see how it goes. I just watch it up until Sunday, and if they're both healthy, you're going to fire up Jones. You're going to fire up Mixon. I'm with you. He's higher. Let's talk about Justin Jefferson. How high is it too high to rank Justin Jefferson this week? It feels like he's just top 3 wide receiver every week, right? How high can we rank him? And then on the flip side, Nico Collins looks like one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. How high are you ranking Nico Collins with these guys this week?
I'm struggling to rank Justin Jefferson number 1. I currently have him number 2. It really depends if Jamar Chase is going to go nuclear or not against that atrocious Washington secondary there. But yeah, I have Justin Jefferson at 2, potentially 1 by the time Sunday rolls around. You're locking him into lineups. It doesn't matter. With respect, Justin Jefferson is not Garrett Wilson, as he told us last week and then showed us last week. Mm-hmm. The man backs it up. There's no question there. But to your question about Nico Collins, Nico's my wide receiver 5 this week ahead of Rashee Rice. Nico
baby.
Collins has looked phenomenal. We knew the talent was there. We were concerned about the volume and the role. There is no concern about the volume these days. He is locked in. I think our concern is for Tank Dell and if he can get enough meaningful targets over Steph Diggs, but those two are in competition with each other. Nico is, on an island, just ready to receive all the targets that Stroud's willing to throw to him every single week. So lock him in.
Yeah. I think it's an interesting discussion between Dell and like Diggs and how you want to view those guys. I think they're both like, wide receiver 2s, wide receiver 3 in that range. I think I have them 25, 30. I always chase the upside of Dell just because he has the A-dot. But yeah, you could go Diggs, like his role. It's very similar how they're all used. It's just Nico's massively outperforming his expectation, which he's a really good wide receiver. That's probably going to happen week in and week out. Now, if we have no Addison, we have no other guys, where are you ranking Naylor, who was actually surprisingly good last week for the Vikings?
It was good. Yeah, Naylor's good, and they don't really have a tight end option there. And Ty Chandler isn't necessarily an amazing receiver out of the backfield. So Naylor's really interesting, especially if Aaron Jones is out of this game or limited. Even if he's not, I think Naylor's probably a back end wide receiver 3. I haven't gotten that far in my rankings, but he'll definitely be above the likes of he'll be around the Greg Dortch, Darnell Mooney prayer shots that I might throw into my lineup, like a Juwan Jennings as well. It's kind of another one in there. So we're talking about like high 40s, low 50s, I'd say, on the week.
Yeah. It's funny you say that because I have him 55. I have Darnell Mooney 56 this week. So you nailed those ones. I know that.
Yeah.
Looking at the tight ends, are you doing anything with the Vikings, or are you just leaving it alone? And then how high do you have the Texans tight end rank this week?
Yeah, I don't even know if Tanyan's been running routes. I don't even know if he's been out there. We have Johnny Munt. Like, who cares, right? No, the Vikings, I'm not touching these guys. I wouldn't be surprised if you told me a third tight end has more targets than those two. On the other side, Dalton Schultz. Schultz, I think, is a little banged up as well. I'm not sure. He is listed as questionable. I don't know if it's that big of a deal, but it's not that big of a deal for me because I will not be starting him anywhere. I don't want anything to do with either of these guys.
Yeah, they fall into that kind of touchdown and prayer, like late teens tight end rankings with the Green Bay tight ends, like all those guys. You kind of you need a touchdown, whoever you're getting out of that group, because that's the only way they really succeed with all the options. For you, I know my answer to this question. Do you have Bowers above Kelsey rest of the season?
Now I do. Yes. It only took 2 weeks, but Travis Kelce is complete dust and Brock Bowers is the new hotness. No, it's not that serious. Kelce probably turns it around with no Isaiah Pacheco in the mix anymore. That said, Brock Bowers is just getting all the targets that can be fed to him. We need to give more props to Gardner Minshew for supporting multiple options in the passing game. He's a functional, serviceable NFL quarterback, and that does lead to fantasy production for multiple guys if those guys are really good. And Devonta Adams and Brock Bowers are really good. So I have Bowers over Kelce.
Props to Luke Getsy. We expect this team to be run heavy. They have the highest neutral pass rate in the NFL. Like, they're like, fuck this run game. It sucks. We're going with our 2 best weapons, and that's a good move by them. So I'm all aboard that. Would you? I mean, you could. I don't really think it's much of an upgrade personally. So for kickers, like, I'm fine with it, but I get it. He's been bad for 50 yards like the last year plus. Tucker has been. So you could go Bucker if you really think it's an upgrade. I think it's kind of a wash between those two guys. I just think overall, I think the Kansas City offense is better. So if you want to chase that, sure. Like, I'm fine doing that move. Jeremy, would you trade Waddle and Hunter Henry for Brock Bowers? And this is redraft.
Yep.
I'm assuming. Yep.
100%. Actually, we just had an article for biggest buy and biggest sell of the week for Fantasy Pros. I wrote that Hunter Henry was my biggest sell because not that you could get a ton for him, but if people think that this is going to continue and be an every week thing, I got news for you, right? Hunter Henry has done this since he's become a Patriot. He's actually done this his entire career. Some games he's super hot and hyper targeted. Some games he disappears. He's just an above average level talent. He's not a superstar. And because of that, you'll see Jalen Polk games. You'll see Ramondre Stevenson just completely take over. Antonio Gibson will have a game, but this offense is not good enough. Hunter Henry is not good enough to sustain this production. And we're going to see Drake May and others very soon here, just kind of rotating in between May and potentially Baker, rookies getting on the field for that team, and they suck. So all of that combined means I want out on Hunter Henry. If you can get Bowers and you can deal Waddle as well, who should see a downtick for a few weeks, I'm all aboard.
That's the key. Yeah, I'm with you. That's the key. Like without Tua for the next month, like it hurts Waddle the most. So like he's the biggest loser in that offense, right? So yeah, if you could move into Bowers, like you could replace Hunter Henry, like no problem. Like that's that kind of streamable tight end you can do now. Like getting Bowers is a true difference maker. And with how bad tight end is, like, yeah, I'm smashing that. So I'm with you. Interestingly enough, for me, how I'm ranking these wide receivers, if Jordan Love plays, Jaden Reed's going to be my highest wide receiver. If he's not, I'm going back to the Deontay well once again. I am guilty because I don't expect Higgins to play. Then I would have Shakir, then I would have Tyler Johnson and PPR. How do you have these guys ranked?
Yeah, I'm not looking at my rankings just yet. I can, but it's just too many names at the moment. Tyler Johnson's definitely last on this list. Jordan Love has a chance to play, but it depends how mobile he is. I agree with you. If Jordan Love plays, I mean, he's going to be looking for guys who, those quick hitters, and that's going to be Jaden Reed all day. So I think Reed's the clear one if Love plays. If he doesn't, I think it's between Deontay and Shakir. Shakir's just being peppered with targets as much as one can be peppered with targets in a low volume passing offense. But he seems to be the number one guy that Allen looks for, especially when the play breaks down. I might wait a week on Deontay and start Shakir over.
Yeah, that's completely fine. Like I 100% get it. So I think we both agree that like Reed's the top guy if Jordan Love plays because we've seen it. Like he's the most valuable like wide receiver on that offense. I think he's just the best wide receiver they have. So Jordan Love is a healthy, competent quarterback. Like that's really good news for Jaden Reed. So I would actually try to buy low on Jaden Reed because if you don't get him back this week, Love's going to come back next week, right? So then we get Love rest of the season. Jaden Reed will be a riser. So if anyone's worried about Jaden Reed, go get him. So yeah, that's why we're going to be those guys.